is a podcast about all things holistic health and self-discovery with me, Ask Elizabeth, counsellor, health advocate and fundraiser. Join me as we get to know these guests and learn about how they implement health, well-being and self-care practices into their lives. Welcome to Unearthing Wellbeing with Ask Elizabeth, where our greatest wealth is health. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of Unearthing Wellbeing. This week I had Lauren Brant on the podcast. You may know her from her time on High Five or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Putting the fact that she is a media personality and influencer to the side though, what rang true for me was how beautiful her soul was. Ultimately, she is just a human, finding joy with her loves, being on a spiritual journey, living as simple and minimal as possible, whilst on a mission to help save lives, spreading a special message to all about her guardian angel, Sandy's story. So I'll stop there and allow you to take a listen to Lauren Brant. Hi Lauren, welcome to Unearthing Wellbeing, where your greatest wealth is health. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I love what you're doing and the message that you're spreading and how you are informing people of how important well-being is.
Thank you so much for that. It's much appreciated. And thank you for saying yes to coming on. The pleasure is all mine.
Oh, thank you.
So for those who don't know you or know a little bit about you, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Absolutely. I try not to identify myself with any situations in particular that's gone in my life. I like to be really present, and everything that I've gone through has led me to this very moment now. I have basically, though, been on, a spiritual journey and understanding what this life means to me and how I fit into it and what my purpose is. And I've sort of figured that out through all of the wonderful adventures and opportunities that I've had. So just to put it into context, I have 3 older brothers. We're a South African family. We moved to Australia when I was 9. I've always been into performing. I think that's a real language of mine, to be creative, and done various shows on TV, on stage. I did a children's show for High Five for almost 6 years, which was an incredible experience. I now have 2 little boys and a third on the way, and married to a gorgeous man, and living on the Gold Coast in Queensland.
Amazing. And your sons are so cute. When I see them on Instagram, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, I am well and truly obsessed. So it's nice to know that I'm not the only one that thinks they're so cute, because, yeah, I think they're absolutely adorable.
Yeah, you're definitely not biased in that regard, that's for sure. And congratulations with the one coming. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Yes, just adding to the magical chaos that is motherhood. It's an incredible space to be in, but it comes with every kind of emotion and feeling you could expect on any sort of roller coaster journey. But it makes you really feel like you're living, which is awesome.
That's so beautiful. And your husband is Barry. For those who are AFL supporters, he's from Sydney, Barry Hall. How did you two meet?
Really interesting story. So this one will be fun to tell the kids when they can understand. But after I had finished High Five and a couple of other things, and Barry had retired from footy, we actually met on the first season of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Australia, which was filmed in South Africa. So we had no idea of who each other were. I wasn't into AFL, and he wasn't into High Five. And yeah, we met on the show. Nothing romantically sparked at that time. We did connect as human beings, just out of respect, and I think we shared some values while we were on the show. But it was a year afterwards when we went on our first date, and then basically we're inseparable from then.
Oh, that is so cute. I actually didn't know that. So I guess we all
Yeah,
learn something every day.
yeah, it's a fun way to meet someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a organic way also because you didn't have intentions of like meeting your now husband on the show, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you know what I was thinking about the other day when I was getting ready for something, doing my hair and makeup, which I don't actually do that often. I always used to go on dates absolutely natural. I think Instagram played a huge part in people having a augmented reality of what someone should look like, and
Mm.
because I had been on it and I had been in television and media, um, I used to think sometimes I was being asked on a date for who they thought I was rather than who I really was inside. And so whenever I used to rock up to a date, it would always be absolutely el natural in a really raw environment, because then I thought, okay, you're going to see who I really am, and I'll know very fast if you were in it for the right reasons.
Mm.
Um, but it was the opposite when I went on a date with Barry, because we met in the jungle where the TV show was filmed, where we couldn't have anything. So it was no hair, no makeup, and no food, no sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol. So we were detoxing. So what it meant is that not only were we physically in our most natural form, but we were stripped away from everything that gives us, highs. And it was really just up to us surviving together, and we knew each other already in like a very vulnerable place. So when I did go
Mm.
on my first date with him a year later, it was my opportunity then to be like, hey, look at this other side of me. And I did put on all the makeup and I did do the hair, and it was fun because I knew that he already knew me
Yeah.
as my most natural form. So that was a pretty cool way to do it. And it turns out he actually prefers me natural. So that was really nice.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you know
Yeah.
what? I think a lot of women who listen to this will actually um, take note of that because, as you said, social media plays a big role in like how we portray ourselves. And
Yeah.
if we actually take on that natural, like, look on things, maybe we will actually like know what these people who could be our love interests actually have, like what their intentions are.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even insider tips from guys when you speak to them, if they're meeting someone out and then they've got a different version of that person when their extensions are out, when the eyelashes are off, or all of that stuff, humans are humans, though. They really want to connect on an emotional level, and that's what's important.
Mm.
And so I think, yeah, it's really fun to be creative, and I love to do makeup, I love to do hair, and I love to wear nail polish, and I love playing with filters and things on Instagram. But I do it just as a fun creative thing, not to identify myself with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something that I think is really important for mainly our younger generation to know growing up, is that it's just a creative outlet basically, and it shouldn't identify you.
Absolutely. So, so
Yeah.
true. And following on from that, you practice a conscious and holistic, healthy lifestyle. What does that mean, and how do you practice that?
Aren't they just such trendy words at the moment? I
Yeah.
feel there's so much trend now that's associated with healthy living, and sometimes it's not all actually the intentions there, but it's not being lived to what the meaning is. And
Mm.
basically, for me, what it means is living as simple and as minimal as possible. Our philosophy is really everything that we need, we have within ourselves and we have within Mother Earth and nature. And the reason why people now have to work so hard at trying to get to that holistic, conscious well-being state is because we've just complicated the hell out of it. So it's actually a matter of not trying to learn how to do new things. It's about stripping everything back that we have learned as a society and all the pressures that we've put on ourselves to, I don't know, have power or greed or fame or whatever it is that got us into this rut that we're in. We're now learning we need to strip it all back and get back to the basics and just connect with what we've always had, and that's ourselves, each other, and our planet. So when we talk about, being conscious and living in a holistic lifestyle, it's just always going to yourself and to your environment first, and only really taking anything extra on board when it's absolutely needed, because there are some incredible resources that we've discovered over the years and perks of, Western medicine and technology and things. But most of the stuff that we need to get by to live happily day to day, we've already got, and we don't need all the extra stuff to be able to be happy. So, yeah, it's really just about stripping back and being as simple as possible in lifestyle.
That's an incredible way of looking at it, and it's so, so true. I think if we can all apply that more so now, especially with those like in lockdown. Currently, I am living in Melbourne, and there's a fair few people who are experiencing this over the world and in our own country. And if we actually just, I guess, enjoy our surroundings and what's in us, like you said, we will be happier beings as well.
Yeah, because we're so used to finding our happiness in what's next, where can I go, what can I do, what can I attain. We're so busy. So being in lockdown is really taking away all of that freedom to just have more and more and more. And a lot of people have never been in a position where they're so intimate with themselves and their surrounding. But there's really a beautiful opportunity to, if you're on your own or if you're with a family or a partner, to just strip back and connect and get back to the basics. Because humans, if we're talking about history and our Homo sapiens back in the day of when our whole species even began, it was super simple. The hardest thing we had to do was forage for food. And then you would do that maybe for 4 hours of the day. Then the rest of the time you would enjoy your environment and just enjoy yourself as a human being within nature. And yeah, we've just over long time overcomplicated it. So lockdown is so challenging for so many. And even what we're facing with the pandemic is like, it's a lot for people to go through because of the position that we found ourselves in. But if you can find the lesson in it, I guess, and the opportunity to evolve, then that's really special and really beneficial. I don't want to say that it's easy though, because I know it's a really hard struggle, and finances is such a huge stress on so many people due to the lockdown. But in any situation in life, there is always a gift to be found. And that's where I just urge people to look.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. And yeah, 100%. I think the more we can actually apply that, the better off we will be. And even though there will be hardships along the way, if we look back in hindsight as well and utilize them as lessons, we will be better off, and we hopefully won't make the same mistakes that we did in retrospect.
Yeah, and I really don't want to sound like I'm not appreciating the hard times that people are going through, because I know that it is extremely difficult for a lot of people. But the thing about life is also that really shitty things happen, and we're such problem solvers. We're always trying to get out of the bad situations and look forward to the good ones. Where I find it helpful when you're in a situation that's uncomfortable or unfamiliar, to actually lean in further and like really go there, knowing that it is just an equal part of this journey in life as the good times are, and that everything will pass.
Yeah, so true. And going on from there, recently you revealed that you secretly got married whilst dealing with an emotional family tragedy. Excuse me. Firstly, this is quite bittersweet. Congratulations. But
Thank
also,
you.
I'm so sorry about the passing of your sister-in-law. Is it okay if you could tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So this is one of those things I was talking about. It's just a really crappy part of life.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, she had been part of my family since I was 3. She's 10 years older than me. She was 13 when she started dating my oldest brother, who was 15. And very soon became part of our family and moved to Australia with us. And I grew up with her, knowing her as my sister. It was a really unique situation and relationship, but it was ours and it was amazing. One thing I do have to mention is a huge part of my life is the fact that I have an extremely supportive and close family. It's shaped so many of the different situations I found myself in. But Sandy and Tyron, they ended up getting married when they were super young, and they had children in their 20s. And when she was 39, just before her 40th birthday, Sandy was diagnosed with bowel cancer. So the really, really important message that I want to raise here is that she had no idea that she could possibly have bowel cancer. She had a sore stomach and had been seeing doctors about that for over a year. She saw GPs, specialists, physios, because they thought it might be a muscular pain. They talked about changing her diet. They talked about endometriosis, like all sorts of things. And not one person thought that she should get tested for bowel cancer. But Sandy herself also was not aware at all that younger people could get it and that people with no family history could get it. And by the time it was found during a complication in the surgery, it was really far progressed. And we are spreading Sandra's message and telling her story because awareness really could have saved her life. Bowel cancer is a very curable disease if detected early, but you have to be aware that it could be a possibility. And you also have to take your health into your own hands. She saw so many professionals and it slipped by all of them. But had she known to bring it up, she could have tested for it and had it ruled out, or detected it early and been able to cure it. But Sandy did actually have chemo and go into remission technically after 6 months, but it came back metastasized and spread just 3 months later and terminal. And she got given a 2-year life expectancy, which ended up just being 7 months because she didn't respond well to treatment. She had complications in all of her surgeries. And in the end, the cancer got to her stoma, which is basically where they redirect your bowel so that you have to utilize a colonoscopy bag. And that essentially meant that she wasn't able to eat or drink because her body lost the function to digest. And she had to starve to death, being like a 41-year-old at that time. Yeah, 41-year-old human with all her other organs were functioning perfectly. So her passing took about 4.5 weeks from the day she found out. She basically, just had to starve. And it was a really slow death that we all had to witness and watch. And she was so elegant and graceful in going through it. But going into the hospital thinking that she was going to just need, a treatment for something, to being told, actually, you're going to be staying here now until you pass, was a massive, massive turn. We all knew that we were dealing with her having a terminal illness, but we had hope.
Yeah.
And those 5 weeks went so fast. But one of the things that sort of happened in the end was we were spending the time with her knowing that she wasn't going to be with us for much longer, and having really important conversations and deep conversations. And for us, you never really want to have someone pass with having regrets. And Sandra was really sweet about that. She knew that it was important to allow her friends and family to visit her and chat openly about whatever they wanted to, so that we would be okay when she had gone. And right until she passed, she always put others ahead of herself. She was just beautiful, the most selfless, beautiful person, always present. And in knowing that I was only going to have her around for a couple of weeks, I did have one regret, and that was that we hadn't got married, because Sandy and I always dreamt about me getting married. I was her little flower girl when I was like 10 years old.
Aww.
And as we grew up together, she wanted to be involved in my wedding, and we were going to open a wedding business together. And I used to design my dresses. And I just thought, if I don't do it with her here, I'm actually not too sure if I would ever be happy to do it.
Yeah.
And I did feel a little bit selfish though, because she has her husband and her children, and I didn't want to make a day about me when she only had, a handful of days left. So we raised it with Tyron, her husband, and he was just like, yes. Sandra has not stopped asking me when you guys are going to get married, and I've had to literally tell her to just be quiet and let you guys do it in your own time. And our only reason was just, timing. We've had 2 children. It's been very busy the last few years. So anyway, as soon as we had that approval, we called up our celebrant that we knew. We called birth, deaths, and marriages to get an exemption from the 30 days notice that you usually have to get when you apply to marry. We got letters from the oncologists, and the celebrant and I put all the documentation together, and by the next morning we had the approval. So I went and chatted to Sandy, and I asked her if she would be my maid of honor one day, and she said, yes, I'm sorry, I won't be there. And I said, well, what if we do it right now? Will you come and be there? And she was like, what? And she was so excited. And we literally, the whole family was available, and we all just jumped in the car and we went to this beautiful sunflower field where Sandra loves sunflowers, and it always makes her happy. So technically, I don't think she really should have left the hospital at that stage, but she wasn't going to let us get married in the hospital. So we all went to the sunflowers and we just eloped, and it was the most incredible experience, because normally weddings are so much about the fuss and the stuff.
Yeah. And
this one was just only about love. Yeah. Like love between Barry and I, love between Sandy and I, love between the whole family there. I don't even know what I was wearing. I hadn't washed my hair in days. I wasn't wearing shoes or a bra. My boys were, I think one was in a Spider-Man shirt and the other one had food all over his, but everyone was just there, and we were present, and time kind of stood still, and no one really was thinking about the fact that Sandy was dying. We were just thinking about the fact that we were celebrating love. That's so and it was I'd have to say it was the best day of my life, which is the most insane timing, knowing that it was 10 days before Sandy passed. But yeah, so we sort of eloped, and we didn't say anything to anyone. We were very much in our bubble for a while, and we just shared our story recently to raise awareness in an impactful way about early detection of bowel cancer, and people just making sure that they're their own health advocates.
Yeah, of course. And you know what, when you're going through something like that, both exciting and bittersweet, like I said before, you want to be in that bubble and just be with those people dearest to you.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those times when you really find out who you are deep inside when you are stretched to your absolute limits.
Absolutely.
And that's where we were. We were just in this twilight zone, which was very unfamiliar and very surreal. And it was, when I say moment by moment, it was second by second, honestly. And the only way I would hope no one, none of your listeners have to be in this situation, but if you are, you just got to lean into it and know you got to face what's really happening. You got to really face it and understand it, because it is awful, but it is also the most real like you can possibly get in any relationship, and also the relationship with yourself, and knowing what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were very much in a zone where we were so disconnected from anything that didn't matter, and that proved to be a lot of things. And we stayed in that bubble for a while until we pretty much had to come out of it to integrate back into,
Society.
the busy lifestyle that we've created. Yeah, and society. And to be honest, I'm still doing that integration.
Yeah.
It's Sandy only passed in March, and it's July, so it's not too long ago. We still cry quite often, but it's part of the healing and the grieving. Just as soon as something comes on, I just release it. I make sure I'm not trying to be strong or be brave. I'm just being in the moment still.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think back to when my uncle passed away, and I think everyone's got a different grieving process to take and how they release those emotions. It's so individualized and unique to the person. For instance, my process was different to my mum's, for instance. And like, I decided to shave my hair off and raise awareness for cancer, and I guess raise funds as well. And everyone thought I was crazy and losing my nut. But you know what? Everyone, as I said, has a different path to lead. But so long as you're supporting one another and you're being your truest self and you're not pushing those feelings down, is the most important thing.
Absolutely. First of all, I'm really sorry for your loss. I know that you were greatly affected by losing your uncle, and what you said about individual grieving, 100%. Every single person in my family has done it differently, even though we've all supporting each other and all got each other's backs and we're so close. Everyone's done it differently. And that's the way it should be, because we're all unique individuals with our own story that we're writing.
Yeah.
But when you do find something that makes you, acceptance is a hard word, because I think deep down you don't really ever accept the loss of someone. But to make it your new normal, whatever works for you in doing that, you should 100% go down it. And it sounds like might be similar to you in the way it's more of a taking action approach.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt like sharing our story and raising the awareness and helping others is helping me in the process.
Absolutely. And when I saw your story, and I was like, I need to have you on to spread awareness and also, I guess, help each other in that respect as well, and hopefully help others who listen to this podcast too.
Yeah, and that's a big one. You don't have to go public with your story or shave your head. It doesn't mean that you're not doing enough in your grieving.
Yeah.
That you can say absolutely nothing. You know what? You can get really angry. You're allowed to do that.
Definitely.
You can do whatever you want that's going to help you through it, knowing that whoever it is that's passed, they would want you to be okay in the end.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that we have to be so careful in, and this isn't just about grief and losing someone, but this is so many things, is if you're leaning in and you're allowing it all to happen and you're just going with whatever comes, is to just let it come and then let it pass. Just like when we practice meditation and your thoughts enter your mind and then they exit your mind. It's the same with these intense feelings around grieving. You've got to experience them and let them pass. Because if we get stuck, that's when we end up having ongoing issues that now become our story.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about the sadness that's attached with losing someone else. It's now your story, and then you have to work on that. So it's really hard to have that awareness, but it's really important. And if you have support, you've got to voice. You've really got to voice how you're feeling, because you don't want to get stuck in a place that's not good for your own health.
So true. Is there any other advice that you would like to give people who are going through similar situations or are currently in the thrust of it?
It's such a unique experience, like we've said.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really think is the universal thing that we can do is, like I said, lean into it. Don't run away from it. I personally think of grief as an extension of love. So the harder I love, the more I'll grieve.
Yeah.
Which is like a positive negative. It's when you're grieving so hard, it's also a reminder of the incredible love that you feel. So that's what I guess pulls me out of getting stuck in the hardcore emotions. But the other thing that I really think is, just lean into it, because while it's happening, and after it is so important to face the unfamiliar and the uncomfortable feelings, just as it's important to embrace the beautiful and enjoyable feelings, to have a really healthy balance. And there's always growth. Like every situation that you go through, there is always growth. And if you can not force it, but be open and surrender to realizing what that growth is, it just means that you will have a more peace within yourself in life in general.
100%. And I think the more people, as sad as it sounds, the more people we lose, the more but the more we learn as well. And it's not only about grief and loss and death, but it's also about how we are as people and the tools that we utilize and our values we have just are different.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is say that there was a positive in someone dying, because you feel guilty about saying that. You feel guilty about, I felt guilty for a long time about anything that made me happy. And for me personally, in my situation, in my relationship with Sandra, I know that she would just whack me over the head for being anything but happy. She knows I loved her, and she knows I'll be sad that she passed, but she would want me to enjoy my life more than ever, knowing how precious it is. So I kind of got off track there because I just started thinking about Sandra pointing her finger at me.
Following on from that, how do you continue to keep her legacy alive?
Oh, she keeps her own legacy alive. Loving someone in a physical form is just one part of it.
Yeah.
Their soul and their spirit and the relationship that you had and the bond and the feelings that you feel towards them, like that always exists. But Sandra, because we were able to be with her until she lost consciousness, she was able to talk a lot and express a lot. She was incredible, like facing death, the way she was, her whole journey was so inspirational. She never made herself a victim or wanted people to feel sorry for her. If anything, she just made us all realize so much about how fragile life really is, and also what a gift it is, and what a gift health is. And she, right, like I said before, right until her last breath, was just always present, always putting others before herself, and was just there. Like, she just was there. I feel like she was an angel that was just loaned to us, and maybe she always belonged as an angel, because she taught us so many things, and she was this positive, happy, loving person in all our lives the entire time. And there was so much that she left us with. So as far as legacy goes, I mean, just lessons in life that she taught all of us, which we really realized once she had passed, was a true gift that we will always live by. But she was able to verbalize that she really wanted us to spread the message of awareness for bowel cancer in particular, and how important early detection is, and being an advocate for looking after your own health. And so I will continue to do that, because in sharing her story already, there's been so many people testing, and even a couple of people who have detected cancer early, which is incredible. Like, she literally saving lives. And that's what she wanted to be able to do. She was passionate about it. And so that's what I'm personally carrying on for her, is as simple: be aware, get tested, save your life.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah. And so that's basically, I think, what my mission will be for her. And what I have to say, because I thought this was so important for her to leave as her final words, she wanted everyone to know you must be on top of your health and an advocate for your own health, but don't live your life in fear. And that's really important, because in hearing this story, people think, oh, maybe I'm sick, maybe I've got this, or as soon as you feel a pain coming on, you start thinking of a million things that could be wrong with you, or that you're going to pass away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about stopping and then going, just, if I feel something's up, get tested. If they're not testing for the worst case scenario, ask them to. And then go and enjoy your life. Don't be fearful. Like, make the most of every day and go on adventures and find beauty in everything you can. So I think from the last words of a 41-year-old woman dying, that's really, really good advice to take on.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for spreading awareness about it, and I guess following forward with your mission and ultimately saving other people's lives in the long run.
My pleasure. I do have to say, I can't imagine what it would be like getting diagnosed, especially with terminal illness. And I really tried to see in Sandra how she dealt with it, and I could not believe how at peace she was with everything. She fought so hard. She never stopped fighting. Like, it got to the point where the doctors didn't even know how she was still breathing. And, her husband was watching her as a 20-kilo grown woman that was just a skeleton, saying, it's okay, you can like go. Sandra had some really powerful moments where she was talking with angels in her last couple of days. And so we were asking if she was if they were there to take her, and she was like, not yet. But she just never stopped fighting. But all I know is that support is a really big thing.
Yeah.
It's such shocking news, but once it settles in, it's where you're at, and you just do all the things that you have to do to deal with it, to try and beat it, or to surrender to knowing that your days are limited. But if you don't have the support in your own family or environment, that's where the charities are super helpful. We didn't take advantage of any of the charities, but I do want to mention that there are charities that people donate so much money to all the time that are there to help. So for the lady who recently got diagnosed after testing because of Sandy, she doesn't have support. So she's using Bowel Cancer Australia, Cancer Council, Mummy's Wish. She even has to use a company called Berry Street that do emergency foster care for children. And they are her support network, and they are doing an incredible job. So wanted to mention as well, for anyone that may need some extra support, reach out to the charities. They don't know you're there until you tell them that you're there. And they literally spend their lives raising money to be able to help you. And that's not just the actual patient, that's people around them who are affected too. I've done some counselling with the Cancer Council since Sandy passed, and it has helped me so much. So, yeah, I think maybe we can put that on the end of your show notes, some of the really helpful charities that people can reach out to.
100%. And as a counsellor myself, I think it's really important to actually recognise that it's okay to reach out for help and express how you're feeling to someone who isn't going through the same thing as you or who doesn't know you. Like, it's just, yeah, it's important to keep yourself at its full capacity, so your cup's full and you're able to pour into other people's cups and you're looking after yourself. And thank you so much for sharing those organizations and charities that are available to those who are suffering, and not only them but their families. I think that's really important, and I'll definitely be adding those to the show notes.
Yeah, and on that point that you said about telling people how you feel, 100%. My whole family were really affected, so I actually had to verbally tell my friends, I need you to check in on me. I'm not doing okay. So just know that, and you've got to tell people, because you can't just think that they'll assume it or just know it intuitively.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just have to be, grieving about someone passing. I think whenever you're going through something that's a huge mental health tip is you just tell people, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We just have to do that more often and just get rid of that stupid stigma that is around that if you're not okay, something's wrong with you, because it's not true. We all go through trials and tribulations, and we all need to support each other. So, yeah. Obviously, family is one area that brings you a lot of joy. What other areas bring you joy?
Priceless moments that just make your heart pump fast and gives you the flutters. I love nature, so a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful sunset, being at the beach, or being surrounded by trees. Like, I just think nature is incredible. But yeah, I'm a very creative person. So when I'm in my flow, whether it's dancing or painting or writing or, I've tried pretty much everything, music. And yeah, I think it's probably because it's all a form of meditation where it stops your thoughts and it just allows you to feel joy. Like, it just brings out that inner joy. So, I'm all for those anything that gets you into your flow where you're not distracted by unnecessary thoughts.
Love that. And that leads me on to my next question. Is there anything you drew upon from your time on High Five now with your gorgeous children?
Oh, well, the biggest thing is just being a big kid yourself. Like, I've always been able to be a big kid, and I probably lost touch with that the most when I had children, which seems a bit silly. But I felt such responsibility for bringing humans into this world, and I put a huge amount of emphasis on the fact that between the ages of 0 to 7, that's when you form their limiting belief system. And I wanted to make that as least limiting as possible. I really wanted them to just have complete freedom to explore themselves and the life forever. So I took it all a little bit seriously, and it's a big shock being completely responsible for other human beings. So just having so much pressure on myself to provide the very best life for them, I took myself a bit seriously, I think. And I just kind of had to snap out of it and realize that I'm not just the person here to provide the best life from them, but I'm the person who's going to show them when they're little what their best life could be. And for children, it's literally about discovery and play and exploring. They're like little scientists. So I think I did a big breathing session, and I connected to my inner child, and I just ended up having this huge release, and I was like really connected to my inner child again afterwards. And it took me back to a lot of the training that I did in High Five, where we did a lot of inner child work. And so that's probably my biggest thing that I draw on, is just knowing, like, full permission to just be a big kid. And I love it. It's super, super fun. And it actually makes me intimidated by adults now. You guys are so grown up.
That is so good. But you know what? We all need to like draw upon that. And I guess, what would be your, considering you did a lot of training around it, what would be your one suggestion to get back to that and draw into your inner child?
Well, you have to be open to it, first of all. Like anything, when you work on yourself, you have to be open. It has to start with you. But a really cool way is to, it sounds silly, but trust me, just do it. Get a photo of yourself as a child and write yourself a letter about whatever. You can write yourself a letter about the things you liked to do as a child, or maybe, some good and bad things that you think have happened since you were a child. But when you do connect and write and see that photo, it forms that connection. And so do some things that you like to do as a child, and every time you do, it might just bring back a little bit more of that connection until you realize that your childhood was the best part of your life. For most people, I know for some, there's some very traumatic things that went on that people are working on. But maybe you can re-own your childhood. Maybe you can relive it and regain it and do it the way you wanted to do. I had an amazing childhood, but I know for Barry as well, his childhood wasn't full of, too much love and support and play. So he's actually become a child again since having his own children. And I'm not saying if you want to connect with your inner child, go and, get pregnant or get someone pregnant and have your children. It's not an experiment. It's a big responsibility. But when you do have your own children, make sure you dive to that place and enjoy childhood with them.
That is such a great set of tips, and I definitely will be doing that. I think when I look at photos of when I was a little kid, I was like a big adult trying to so I'm gonna look at when I maybe was an infant and then utilize that. But that's the best. Thank you so much for that. And as a parent, as a pregnant and busy mama, how do you ensure you're getting all that self-care in?
Oh, I know how a lot of people who live a life based on, well-being are such advocates for that self-care, but it's probably the thing we need to work on the most, right?
Yes, 100%.
And what I realized is you don't actually need to have specific things that you need to make time for to call it self-care. You don't have to schedule in time and you look at your busy schedule and go, when am I going to do it? There is an opportunity to step back and be aware of your surroundings and your feelings and your connections through anything. And so that's where I've really learned to get my self-care. Yeah, if I've got time, I'll go for a beautiful bath, or I'll do it like a singing bowl class, a crystal bowl class, or sound healing, or have a lovely walk on the beach. But I'm not going to let myself get stressed or neglect the self-care if I can't make those things happen. I've just learned to really sit in moments and be as present as I can, and connect and realize that there is so much beauty all around me, and we are so gifted for those of us who are in good health and have time here on earth. So it can be as simple as walking down the step and thinking about how many muscles are working at once in your body to do that, and how time can stand still for the time that your foot's in the air before it touches the ground again. Like, it can be really simple things, but it all adds up to a healthy mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about ebbs and flows. Like you said, if you don't have time for it, don't stress about not having time to do self-care. Incorporate it into your life, so then it's just second nature.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. It's part of your lifestyle, right?
And the last question that I ask all my guests is, what are your 3 tips for unearthing wellbeing?
Well, it's basically all the things we've chatted about. So first of all, just get back to the basics. Be simple in your approach to finding happiness, which is knowing that everything that you need is in yourself and within Mother Nature, and forming, those connections, those beautiful, deep connections with other beings around you. Number 2 would be, I think inner child is a huge thing. It can change lives, and you don't just have to be an inner child if you're a parent. You can be an inner child if you are the CEO of a huge corporate financial business. And the third thing, it's kind of like, I guess, the first thing, but the self-care, incorporating it into your lifestyle, it's just having awareness and being present. That can change your life. That's literally the whole reason why meditation exists, is to just try get to that space of pure presence and awareness, and doing that as much as you can, and just inserting it to as many places as you can within your life. It means that you won't get to that stage of having a huge burnout. You just keep your balance. And balance is really important. I have spent so many years of my life trying to be an expert in so many different things, and being the very healthiest person nutritionally wise, and the very most fit person physically wise, and the very successful person. And what I realized is that, and it kind of did take Sandy passing, is that even if you've done all those things or achieve all those things, or you're the very best at something, and you could still at any time lose your life. So I now realize that I'm not going to get so obsessed with certain things. I'm going to just live a really balanced lifestyle, and whatever brings me to the closest version of who I am deep down inside and brings me the happiness, then I'm just going to follow that guilt-free.
That is amazing and so beautiful. Thank you so much for your tips. We can all take note of the pearls of wisdom you've offered over this hour, and I can't be any more grateful for your time. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to mention I'm obviously not an expert at anything. I'm just another human being like all the rest of us who are so very lucky to experience this lifetime. But yeah, it's really important for people to, I can't express enough the just not trying to learn more, but actually trying to strip back. And there's so much beauty there. That's the only thing that I would really say maybe I am an expert on, because I'm very much an overthinker and overachiever, and I've never been happier until I stopped trying to be more and actually focused on being less. But all my love to all of your listeners for whatever journey they're on and whatever they took from this. And thank you so much for reaching out and having me on and for doing all of the work that you do and getting your incredible guests. I've been listening to a few of your recent episodes and taken lots from it. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And again, thank you for coming on and sharing Sandy's story. I can't be any more grateful.
Yes, if you have a niggling symptom and you're not happy with whatever diagnosis or answer you've been given, don't stop trying until you get that answer, and just ask for the most extreme possibility and get tested for that first and then rule out from there. So true. Let's not forget what the message is here. Awareness, guys. Go get tested and stay on top of your health.
Thank you and take care.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my episode with Lauren. She really was a joy to have on. She gave me goosebumps, made me shed a tear, and made my heart full. If you are going through a similar situation, reach out if you need help. The following charities are ready and waiting. Bowel Cancer Australia on 1800 555 494. Cancer Council 13 11 20. Mummy's Wish 1300 045 741 and Berry Street 03 9429 9266. You are not alone. To ensure Ask Elizabeth and Unearthing Wellbeing continues to grow, please subscribe and rate the podcast. Feel free to also share and tag us on your socials. I hope you have a lovely day. Be safe and be kind. Take care.